It's your girl, VK Jehanum, and the V stands for Vidian. Tonight we're talking about psychic vampires, specifically those who were born as vampires. Now, if you're a born vampire, you kinda have spirits that are on your side automatically. They may or may not have intervened in your life before you knew they existed. If they haven't, that kind of just means they're waiting on you to call them. A lot of spirits are like that. They're rooting for you, but they won't help you unless asked. You know? There's a group of spirits who are composed of former human magicians who were born as psychic vampires who transcended the cycle of reincarnation, partially through the practice of psychic vampirism. And there are many names for those beings. I prefer to call them the Ascended Vampyres. I have a spiritual name that I channeled for them, which is Vom Quisseron. Other practitioners have referred to them as Vampyri, Akaru, Undead Gods, so on and so forth. They are the deceased spirits of born vampires. Some of them could be considered ascended vampires. Now, some of them are essentially bound to the earth, bound to our world. Others are bound from it. Can't go near it. Some of them hang out by the stars Algol and Dabi. Right? A lot of vampires summon those spirits. The common practice is to feed on a lot of people and then summon them and then let them feed off of you and replace the energy they took with their own energy. This helps spur you towards spiritual ascent. I feel that some of the names these beings are given are inaccurate, right? For example, some practitioners refer to them as Akaru. Akaru are just a type of Sumerian spirit who could be described as vampiric. They don't have any real connection to the beings known as Ascended Vampyres. They're just what the original civilization called beings who could be described as vampiric. The term has no real connection to those beings in my view. Many people call them undead gods, but in my opinion, they are not powerful enough to be considered deities. And they aren't undead either. They don't have that necrotic, necromantic essence about them. They aren't like poltergeists. They aren't ghosts. They transcended the cycle of reincarnation. If you are a born vampire and you intend to consciously practice psychic vampirism and be an occultist, they're just you, but dead. Essentially, every ascended vampire is an individual who was once a human magician like yourself. They all have their own names, their own specialties, their own knowledge, etc. Now, many people have said many things about the Ascended Vampyres. Some say that you cannot work with them if you have partaken of human blood for spiritual purposes. You know, drank someone's blood. Some say that you cannot work with them unless you're a true predator, by which they mean pedophile with no moral or ethical values whatsoever. Now, personally, I oppose child abuse in all forms. I have let people drink my blood for spiritual purposes. I have drank other people's blood for spiritual purposes, and none of that impacted my relationship with the Ascended Vampyres. I do still summon them and pray to them somewhat regularly. And I think I know why this is. I think there are different factions of the Ascended Vampyres. Essentially, there are different factions that work with different spiritual demographics. There are some people, there are some Ascended Vampyres who work with true predators. The name I have received for them is Krala Thora. I did summon them once of my own volition, before I knew what exactly true predator meant. They felt and looked very different from the Ascended Vampyres I usually summon. I feel that there are multiple factions of these beings. And I feel that people who claim they won't work with people who've drank blood, they won't work with people who don't want to fuck children. I feel that the people saying that shit are just working with a different faction than I am. Now, the first time I ever summoned those beings was in a group ritual. They were great. They came quickly. They treated everyone there well. One person who was participating said, and I quote, "I've never felt such love." Now, based on what that group of people and I channeled together, they'll come pretty much anytime you call them. They're like you, but dead. They understand what it's like to be you to some extent. They're on your side. They are underrated to a certain capacity. And those who claim that you can't work with them if you don't do this or avoid that, they're just speaking to a small faction. Their regulations do not apply to you. You can drink blood. You don't have to fuck kids. There are still some of them that will work with you. And you will gain much by working with them. And you can call on them for a great many things. Now we're going to switch to a group of spirits that I like to call the Vampyres. I can't believe they let me call them that, but it's a good title. I am speaking of Tiamat, Kingu, and Absu, the primordial fiends that the Sumerians believe were defeated by Marduk. Throughout religion, you will find many beliefs, such as Satan giving us all the black flame, Odin giving us all the runes. Now, the Vampyres are the beings who created born vampires, like me, maybe like you. They gave life to our species. They know about us. They're rooting for us. They want to see us succeed. So if you're a born vampire, you're one of their creations. They are on your side. They can help you master vampirism. They have very much to contribute to your life. They're on your side. If you're a born vampire, then you have the Ascended Vampyres, Undead Gods, Strigoi Morte, whatever. You have Tiamat, you have Kingu, you have Absu. Just waiting for you to call. Anyways, that's all for now. Have a great night and enjoy your spirituality. Check out that link tree in the description below if you want a little more VK in your life. I'll also leave a link to my article about the Ascended Vampyres.